Staying in love with the grind. I always feel like it's, always room for improvement. I'm looking to, improve in every category.
The kid is super special.
Blows by Primo. Attack!
Memphis got a great one, so.
Watching the way that Ja Morant is climbing, the ceiling is unlimited.
Ja Morant now accused of repeatedly punching a 17-year-old.
Ja Morant would be away from the team for at least 2 games after he appeared to display a gun.
Bro, you not hard.
I'm assuming the worst.
Ja Morant is in a world of trouble.
Ja Morant has been that guy that everyone's loved to root for since he bursted onto the mainstream at Murray State University. On the NBA scene, Ja's play has certainly not disappointed in any facet. The D-Rose-esque athleticism and body control to pair has made him not only one of the most electrifying athletes in the world, but outside of the elitist few players in the NBA, Ja Morant is on the level of anybody. The marketability of an underdog guard who grew into a household name and one of the best players in the league has helped him garner huge endorsements with corporations like Nike, Powerade, Hulu, and Beats by Dre. With the world at his fingertips and all the opportunity in the world at 23 years old, it really seems like right now, Ja's letting all the opportunity go for the sake of his image to his friends and acquaintances. Mistake after mistake blasted on mainstream news has started rolling the ball for what looks like the downfall of Ja Morant. But what was it that got us to this point? Ja was raised by both parents in Dalzell, South Carolina. The town is rather rural in nature, with the county having an average median income of just under $50,000 and a violent crime rate of just under 1%. By most measures, it's an average to slightly below average place to live. It's certainly not the trenches. You're not waking up to gunshots, and your neighbor's probably selling cattle, not cocaine. Ja found his love extremely early. He spent all his time dribbling a ball around the house, dunking on the mini hoop in the living room, inviting huge groups to play on his dad's homemade basketball court in the backyard, while Pops grilled out for up to 60 people at a time. He was a pretty good player, showing out against older competition from the time he was 8 years old, but his game was limited obviously by his skinny and undersized frame. By the time he reached high school, he was reportedly somewhere from 5'7" to 5'9", and didn't even make the varsity team in a school of 1,000 kids. He was really just another guy who seemed a little bit better than the next one. AAU teammate Zion Williamson, funny enough, said that they were just role players on the South Carolina Hornets, an AAU team with no EYBL affiliation. Lacking in physical gifts, his dad, who was a pretty damn good player in his own right, was always there to help push him to the next level. Ja Morant was a former state champion in South Carolina, playing alongside Ray Allen, before becoming a successful D2 player and foregoing his overseas opportunity to raise Ja. By every sense of the word, he was extremely involved in his upbringing, and his main trainer to push his limitations. As an undersized guy, his dad pushed him through all types of workouts to polish up on what undersized guys gotta do. This resulted in what you would expect and why he found his moderate success on lower levels of basketball. Ja Morant was a very smart point guard who could facilitate pretty naturally, finish with both hands, had a smooth-looking jump shot, although he could get a little reckless with his shot selection, and he could certainly be the best on-ball defender when he wanted to be. What was lacking was his explosiveness, so T would put Ja through his own DIY jump training workouts, jumping on tractor tires that he brought home to the backyard. His work definitely transcended his play. Ja was a phenomenal scorer in high school, and the jump training got him throwing down hammers as a senior. He was the face of the team and the best player they ever had, scoring 27 a game as a senior, with an all-time leading 1,679 points scored in 3 years. That's an absolute ton. Regardless, his recruiting was dry. His only high major D1 offer came from the University of South Carolina. An offer is an offer, of course, but wasn't really sure how much they wanted him. Ja wanted the opportunity to play and continued to attend scouting camps and events to garner collegiate attention. That really just wasn't seeming to come. A 6'1", 150 guard with an inconsistent-ish jump shot is really not going to get a ton of attention to play at the next level despite being a scoring machine. In July 2016, at an AAU camp in which Ja was a last-minute invite, directors read the names of players to play on the main court, and Ja's name was not read, leading to him playing in an empty secondary gym As the main gym was loaded with scouts from all over the country, Murray State assistant coach James Kane found himself heading to the concessions for a bag of chips when he heard a ball bouncing during a 3-on-3 game in the second gym. Kane poked in and was blown away by what he saw. Smooth as can be, jumping out of the gym at this point, he saw a ton of potential in this kid. And Kane banked on the guy, calling up his boss, and said that they have an unranked 17-year-old that was future NBA talent. Not too much after that, and Ja Morant was their starting point guard. They definitely trusted this guy, giving him the keys to the offense, leading in assists, and putting up 12.7 a game. Morant was certainly better than most people could have predicted, at least. I mean, if they could have predicted, no one knew who the hell this guy was before this year. And through his play, he was projected to be a late first-round selection in the 2019 draft. His creativity and unpredictability with the ball was exciting as hell to watch, and he was way smoother than the majority of people with this kind of athleticism are, because for most of his life, he wasn't able to rely on that whatsoever. Ja was on the map at a mid-major school, but his sophomore year was like 10 notches above that. Ja Morant put together an absolutely monstrous season. He showed crazy improvements around the board to just under 25 and 10 on much improved efficiency. This was a breakout season if I've ever seen one. He jumped all the way to the #1 projected pick for some of the year despite the lack of a competitive schedule. He was a lock for top 2 in the 2019 draft. There were some concerns with his game, but really not that many. Ja's lack of a frame and athletic ability he could rely on for most of his life forced him to become a very well-rounded point guard. Now he's just Tony Parker with stupid bounce. His jump shot wasn't the most reliable according to scouts, but 36% on 5 a game makes you think that he'll figure it out. The biggest concern, however, was still in his frame. Ja's game was built around getting to the basket and finishing through contact, kicking out, pick and roll, and all that good stuff. It was unsure whether he was the most NBA-ready guy, or if his frame would limit his NBA potential and overall fit at the highest level of basketball. Despite this, he was a lock to the Grizzlies at number 2. And Ja was now the face of Memphis basketball after not really being scouted by anyone just 2 years ago. The criticism kind of flew out the window immediately. I mean, Ja was NBA ready, no doubt about it. With Zion chilling on the bench like always, Ja was by far the best rookie this season. And at 18 and 7 and 31 minutes per game, it was pretty clear right away that his game was going to transfer pretty well to the screen and roll heavy phase that the NBA is in. And pairing Ja with up-and-coming big man and Jaren Jackson Jr. immediately made this a young core that was pretty much guaranteed to win in the future. It looks like they were made in a lab to win games in the modern NBA. Improvements were to come in the following year as Ja would lead the Grizzlies to the playoffs for the first time since Marc Gasol departed from the organization. The potential from this kid really seemed endless, and he had an apparent humble attitude about him that really drew a lot of guys into the Ja Morant bandwagon. I mean, I jumped on that too. From his crazy dunks and infamous missed dunks to his silky smooth game, Ja might be the most entertaining player in the league right now, and it's full of these kind of guys. Over time, he seemed to get better and better and better, and he got hot at the right time too. He had a breakout season his third year in the league, jumping to a crazy 27 a game with near 7 assists. The Grizzlies built a team that was fit to play around him with incredible defenders that could stretch the floor, while Ja can do his thing with Triple J and Steven Adams serving as really solid role men. Finishing at 56 and 26 on the back of an All-Star and All-NBA performance, this escalated Ja's hype to whole new levels. He was a very easy guy to root for and was no doubt a superstar at just 22 years old. Running into the playoffs, and he turned it up to a crazy extent. Matching up with the eventual champion Warriors, Ja had one of the best playoff series I've ever seen. 38, 8, and 7 on over 50% from the field and 43 from 3, with over 3 steals a game. This was a monstrous carry job, and if his teammates picked up a little slack on offense, the Grizz might have been your 2022 NBA champions for the first time in franchise history. He's probably the most famous guy in Memphis at this time. 5-year extension worth upwards of $231 million, deals with Powerade, Nike, Body Armor, Beats by Dre, everyone. He's a kid who had to scratch and claw for every position he's ever had, and if one scout didn't find him playing 3-on-3, he might be waiting tables instead of lighting up the NBA. He was cashing out on what he built, but just a couple weeks after signing the deal of a lifetime that would allow his family to retire for life in luxury, everything started to slowly go up in smoke. An altercation arose while Ja's mother was shopping at Finish Line and got into an argument with the store employee before calling Ja to clear up the issue. Ja continued to roll up with 9 dudes before one member of the party shoved the worker in the head and Morant asked what time he got off, insinuating, well, you know. Police reports were filed, but the beef moved on before whatever next thing catches the media's attention. Just 4 days after, in a pickup game at Ja's house, after a teenage kid threw a hard pass that hit Morant in the head, he proceeded to clock the kid in the face 12 or 13 times. He then went into the house and came back with a gun in his pants. Ja claims he hit the kid in self-defense, while the kid threatened to burn his house down and hurt his family, and cases against each party were eventually dropped due to a lack of evidence. January 29th, a red laser was aimed at the Pacers outside of a game coming from an SUV that Ja was riding in. No punishment came from this instance, and it's unsure if it was attached to a weapon or not, but just 1 month later, Ja goes live from a Denver strip club, piss-faced drunk, waving a gun around after blowing 50 G's in the club. Given the circumstances around his behavior, the insane timing of this made it a bigger deal than if it was anyone else. Ja had to meet the damn commissioner of the league to talk about the issue, and after issuing a copy and paste apology, receiving an 8-game suspension, and apparently receiving therapy to stop playing with guns, I guess, Ja returned to the court where he still was playing great. The Grizzlies were knocked out of the first round, but I mean, this team is still tough. Ja plays at an All-NBA level, and these guys still play together despite their leader wanting to go do whatever the hell he's doing, leaving them as his second priority. Ja lost sponsors from the issues, burnt his reputation a lot, and likely has made the locker room a far less enjoyable place to be. I don't know if it makes it better or worse that the Grizzlies are actually legit and should really have a banner dropping some point in the near future, but the last off-the-court instance might get in the way of that. In an IG Live, he went and did it again. I don't know why. I mean, I can't even blame his friend for recording this one. It seems like once he realized Ja took the strap out, he shit his pants and took the camera off him. But another gun instance in just a few months makes this one hell of a shit show. I don't know if he has some sort of mental issue, he doesn't really want to play or something, or maybe he's just a really stupid guy. But Ja's career is going to be altered greatly because of this issue at this point. As of this recording, a punishment has not been put in place, but I can tell you he's going to be out a lot of next year. He will lose a lot of sponsorship and NBA dough, and his reputation will be completely tarnished for the years to come. Adam Silver's reaction to the incident makes it seem that he's going to suspend him as long as he can, and that's really for the better at this point. This is certainly not an issue of a Second Amendment right. He's not in trouble for having a concealed gun on his waist. This is a lack of accountability and some of the worst self-awareness I've ever seen in my life. Waving a gun around in front of your millions of young fans who look up to you is very damaging to your brand and the corporations who are investing in your likeness. You can't blame his friends at this point. I mean, you can have whatever circle you want, and he chose his surroundings. You can't blame his come-up or his childhood. His dad is catching a lot of flack for not acting like a dad, but Ja had a better childhood than most of the NBA. There's really only one guy to blame at this point. All of the hard work is done, and Ja sacrificed his scenario to look cool for the wrong people. He's reached the heights that he's at from staying on the right path. Ja's a big plus to have in the NBA, but he's far from irreplaceable. After a lifetime of building a reputation, he's certainly destroyed it at this point. Maybe he showed his true colors, or maybe he just needs to screw his head on right. Time will tell if he can rebound from this shit show of a circumstance, or maybe he'll just be a big what if and fizzle away for good. All I know to this point is this is the Ja Morant story. Thank you for watching, and peace out.